Hi, Matthew from Advanced Adapters, and today I'll be sharing or showing you how to do a input swap on a 205 transfer case. We have several 205 input swap kits, and this procedure it kind of covers all of them. So sit back and enjoy. Okay, we have ourselves a Ford 205 transfer case here. We've removed the fasteners and cleaned it up, so it's just for the sake of illustration to see how it works. So this is the front side where the transmission goes, and this is the back side where the rear output shaft goes. So start at the front. We remove these fasteners, and it exposes the seal housing and the input gear. And then you can see the original bearing and snap ring. Pretty simple procedure. We want to put the transfer case in high range, which means the rail closest to the input needs to be all the way forward. What that does, it slides the shift collar up against the input gear, so it cannot wobble around once they move the rear output shaft. Once again, for the sake of illustration, we have removed the fasteners which would normally hold the tail housing on in place. And I have to reiterate that the transfer case is in high range, so it makes it a lot easier to wrangle getting the thing out. So once these fasteners are removed, you can simply remove the whole tail housing, low range gear, and output shaft as an assembly. It slides right out of the case. Obviously this is easier because it's cleaned, but the whole mess comes out in one piece. At this point, you will lay it to the side and make sure you don't lose any of the roller bearings that are inside this output shaft. As you can see, I was talking about before, the transfer case is in high range, so this shift collar is locked up against the dog teeth of the input gear. And now we'll be putting the transfer case in low range, so we can free this, and then we can remove the input gear. Okay, I'm going to use a plastic mallet to put it back in, put it in low range. And I hope that shows you it's free now. And with a little bit of jiggling, you can withdraw that shift collar out of there. Really easy. And now you can take out the input gear, and you can slide. This is done by sliding off the bearing, off the front, and then you can lift the gear up and out of the case. Now it's free. So you don't have to take the whole piece of the unit apart to make the swap. It's pretty easy to do. The snap ring that was on the other bearing that slid out the front, we don't install it on this because we need to slide through the case bore, and you can't do that obviously with the snap ring in place. So this next procedure will show you how it's going to work. This particular kit I'm showing right now is designed for using a NV4500, a Dodge NV4500 in front of a Ford 205 transfer case, giving you a 29 spline input. And it's a two-piece gear. Right here it's snap ring in place, and the bearing comes in pre-installed on it. It's a little tricky to get in, but I'll show you how to do that in a second. But we make this in a variety of different splines for a variety of different applications. Okay, now it's very similar to removal. You got to kind of fish it past the shift fork right here. Jiggle it past, and being that the bearing's on it, you have to be pretty square with the bore. Might require some gentle persuasion. You'll push it past the snap ring groove, and then you'll be putting the snap ring on when you're done with the final assembly. Okay, now same thing as taking it apart. You gotta jiggle this in a little bit. Kind of tricky, but there's enough room to get it in there. See? Pretty easy. And now we'll put it into high range. So now I'll be putting the transfer case into high range, so I can line up the shift collar with the input gear on the clutch teeth. So it's in mesh now, see? So that aids us in installing the rear tail housing, because if this was loose or in low range, we'd be fighting this pilot tip and the bearings, and then this shift collar trying to line it up with the clutch teeth on the low range gear, as well as trying to mesh with the low range wheel. Now we can put the tail housing back on. You can either use silicone or gaskets, depends on what you have available to you, but these aren't hypercritical for clearance because all the end float's held by a snap ring within this tail housing. So simple enough. We got to pilot over this tip here and then mesh this low range wheel into this gear and then obviously line it up so our fasteners are picked up here. So we know this is the top and there's a little raised edge that will cover the shifter shaft hole. So we'll just roll this in. Bam, just like that. And then obviously put the fasteners in it and then this part of the job is done. Okay. And now we're finishing up the job. So this is the least convenient part of the job. You have to spread the snap ring and get it in the snap ring groove. And then slide that back in place. Reinstall your cover with a new gasket, but this is obviously not going to be run this way. And then you're down the road. On a scale of 1 to 3, I would rate this job as a 1 due to its relative ease and lack of real complex tolerances to keep track of or adjust. And as you can see, it happened pretty quickly. And you can give us a call at any time if you purchase this kit, and we can help you through this procedure. Thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for more.